Hello, everybody, and welcome to Today in Space. I'm your host, Alex Girofanos, and today I have another of the amazing people that I met on my NASA social trip in December. The CRS-19 mission, watching the Falcon 9 deliver the resupplies of the International Space Station. This week, I have Elena Salazar on the show. Elena, thank you for coming on.
Hey, Alex, thanks for inviting me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to have you on. We've got a few things, obviously everyone's kind of stuck at home and doing a lot of work from home. So we're going to get into that in a little bit because you have some great advice for us. And what I'd like you to do is tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit about what digital marketing is, and then we'll talk about our experience at NASA Social.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Elena Salazar. I live in Los Angeles. I work for VMware, which is a software company based in Palo Alto. But I work from home, and I've been working from home for about 6 years now. And so that's been really interesting, especially now while, a lot more people are working from home as well. And I've been working in digital marketing since about 2014. And I focus primarily on social media marketing as well as omni-channel. So figuring out how we can tie our social programs to perhaps our email campaigns or retarget our content syndication leads on social media. And it's just really great. The thing I really love is that the industry is constantly evolving, both on the tech side as well as the marketing side. So it really keeps me on my toes and always new things to try.
Yeah, no, and it's such a you're right. It has evolved a lot, and I don't know much about digital marketing. I know about it from I have to promote my podcast. That's how people find out about it. But that's more or less as far as I've gotten. And I when I first started, I did not know anything, and I could have done a lot better job in the early days of just getting it out there. And so what I've learned about digital marketing is it really is like that's how people find you is by getting the message out there. So you've been doing this for 6 years. That's very impressive. Did you have a I guess what we'll call a normal job and work day before that, or what was life before that 6 years?
Yeah, so I actually went to college for international development and I studied economics. And then, during the recession, I went back to school and got my master's degree in international management with a focus on nonprofits. And there I really did a lot of work in quantitative analytics and really honed my data analysis skills and started working doing program evaluation and was working in that area for a while and then eventually transitioned that to marketing analytics in 2014. And then that just kind of grew and evolved into what it is today. So I worked at a couple different ad agencies, and then now I'm working, in-house for a big corporation. So had a lot of different types of roles and experiences in that time.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I like kind of want to dive into what was it like when you first started working from home? Like the beginning of that first 6 years, if you can think back, like what were some of the things you were having a hard time with?
Yeah, I would say at first it was, I would go to the office maybe 2 days a week and work from home the other days. And then eventually I was just working from home full time. And I would say the hardest things for me personally would be, when you're bringing on someone new to your team and you're having to train them and onboard them, but you're not in the same place. I think that is an area where I had a lot of trouble, especially bringing in people who are maybe newer college grads who were new to work in general, but also, maybe didn't have the discipline or the time management yet to be, working from home themselves. So I think that was kind of a challenge. And then also, really figuring out what the right balance is of communication with people. So when you're in an office and you can just turn and ask someone a question or, talk to someone right there, when you're not in the same place, you have to figure out, how much should we be chatting? Should I save, some of these things I want to talk to someone about until I have, several things and then have one call with them. So I think that's something that a lot of people that are working from home now are having to kind of navigate.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's when you said the kids coming out of college, not really having the discipline, that I've learned is such a huge part of it because the cool thing about this podcast has kind of been, it started at my journey of trying to move my life towards something of that nature, where I'm kind of at my
Mm-hmm.
home base at home and either doing the 3D printing business or the podcast. And so I started learning about that discipline early on. I think 4 Hour Workweek was the first book that really blew my mind to what's possible from
Mm-hmm.
what you can do on your own. Have you read that book before?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Yeah, that's a good one. Was it Ferris, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss, he's great. He's awesome. So was now that you're 6 years in, kind of a pro now at working at home, what are some tips what are some things that you do now to kind of prepare yourself for the day, your full day, your full week?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a lot of recurring meetings on my
Mm,
calendar with, my colleagues as well as the agency that helps execute some of our campaigns. And so I always start my week really looking at when I have meetings, what are my really top priorities for the week? And then if I need to block some time to focus on those big priorities, I can kind of set up my calendar ahead of time to make sure I'm managing my time effectively. And then the other thing that I think is really important for me personally is to have kind of set hours that I've decided I'm going to work. When you're working at home and your personal life and work life can really easily blend together, it's important to kind of have that boundary of, okay, this is when I'm going to start work in the morning. This is when I'm planning to end at night. And sure, that can shift if there's, a fire drill that comes up, or maybe you couldn't get as much done during the day as you'd thought,
yep.
but really kind of trying to stick to those hours so that you're not just, on your email 24/7. I think that's really important.
Yeah, setting that expectation for yourself, but then also the people that you're working with, I've seen is such a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing because, especially if you're in like a sales role or marketing where things are kind of always going on and you can get sucked into that kind of after work life. And I think, yeah, I think knowing when that time is and then just making sure that when you're on, you're on. I think that's been
Mm-hmm.
a big thing for me to learn in the last year and a half with doing all this is first it's figure out when you're working on it and then just go at it 110%. And okay, in an hour and a half, this is all the time I had. For me, it was making sure that I could put my content out regularly so that people had something to
Mm-hmm.
look forward to, and then go the next step at, okay, well, I still want to you know have a relationship, I still want to be able to go out and meet friends. So I was
Mm-hmm.
getting sucked into, wow, I could spend every waking moment doing this and really had to focus myself. Do you have any other advice for people that are, say, I don't know, trying their own thing? Because I think there are a few listeners here for sure that uh, listen to a bunch of different podcasts, but they're also maybe on the edge of doing something themselves, whatever it might be. Um, what kind of advice do you have for people out there trying to do something like that online? Definitely.
Yeah, in terms of, getting started online or, figuring out their schedule working from home, what do you think would be most helpful
You
for
know,
them?
that's a great question. I would say because of the time we're in right now, I think we could kind of go dual versatile on this and kind of when they're at home, and focusing their time, what can they do?
Yeah, I think it's really important to set some goals for themselves. So I like to set my goals for the month. Like, what are my, big things I'm trying to accomplish for the month, whether it's personally or professionally, and then try and set aside some time every single day to do that thing. So for me, I have my own blog, and I typically try to post at least twice a month on there. And so I spend at least, a 15-minute block each day just going and writing and just having that consistency and that diligence to make sure that I'm actually doing what I say I'm going to do. I think that's really important. And then, fitting it in with the other things you're doing, like they might have another job already or other commitments. And so I think, being patient with yourself and not expecting, to get a big project done right away, setting realistic expectations, especially in this time, I think is
Yep.
really critical.
100%. that last thing couldn't be said more times over and over again. The patience aspect of this whole thing. That is a lesson I learn over and over again. Um, it's it's such a subtle thing, but it's so true. Like we kind of get caught up in these expectations of like how soon things should happen or how long. Like I've gotten caught up in how long I think I should be spending on something.
Hmm.
And then I realized I can actually do it faster. I was on my phone or, well,
Hmm.
10 minutes in, I would go and do something else.
Yeah, or if you're trying to focus on too many things instead of just diving deep into those maybe two or three things.
Yep. Totally. Totally. Okay. So let's backtrack here. I wanted you to tell the folks about your experience with the NASA Social CRS-19 because I just went back and I watched the video where we interviewed everybody after our launch
Mhm.
experience, and it's so weird to think that was 6 months ago. But what got you there? Like when you first decided to go, where did you find it, and and what were your thoughts before you even got there?
Yeah, definitely. So I personally am very active on Twitter. It's one of my favorite social media platforms for, engaging with my peers and really staying up to date with industry trends and best practices. And I saw a post that someone in my network had made who had done NASA Social in the past, that there was another round coming up. And I thought it looked so cool, such an awesome experience. And I applied and kind of forgot that I had applied. I really thought, hey, this is a long shot. This
Yep.
seems really cool, but we'll see what happens. So when I found out that I was accepted, I was just so excited, and it turned out that it was coming up sooner than I expected. So it was, within a couple of weeks. And I actually had a work trip that was scheduled for that week. I was meant to go up to the Bay Area in California for a training. And so I frantically, rescheduled the training and bought a flight to Florida. And the whole experience to me really exceeded my expectations. Just the group that they assembled
Mm.
was such an interesting array of humans, from students to retirees to engineers to YouTube creators. So I think having that broad group of people that are, different than the people I spend my time with my day to day was
Mm.
really inspiring. It was really great to hear other people's perspectives and see the way that they were, putting the spin on the content that they were creating there and
Yeah.
the types of questions they were asking. I think that was the coolest thing to me was, such a big group of people, but all with that one passion in common.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, from a content perspective, yeah, that must have been very interesting for on your end. Yeah.
Mhm.
What were some of the things that you remember that kind of spoke out to you?
Yeah, some of the things that were my favorite from the experience, I loved going to the vehicle assembly building. I
Mm,
thought that was just incredible, just so much history that took place there, and then just the sheer size of it.
so big.
Like the largest single story building, just insane. So I
Mhm.
thought that was just a really amazing moment. Also, watching the launch, of course, was incredible. Like you see those launches happen on videos, but being there in person and, hearing it and feeling it and having that communal energy of everyone there anticipating it
Mhm.
was just, it brought tingles down my whole body.
Yeah, and I got it again in a little bit when I was watching the video. But
Hmm.
no, it doesn't capture the sheer like physical aspect of being there. Um,
Hmm.
it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird the next 6 months. I'm not sure. Like I want to go down May 27th to watch the first astronauts launch from American soil again, but like it just doesn't work. Like the logistics, like am I gonna be
Hmm.
in hazmat suits in my car like watching it? Like it like, I don't know. Like it doesn't make sense yet. So I'm still trying to figure it out, but it probably won't happen. Going back to NASA, I'm interested before NASA Social, like and before we kind of got in there, because part of us we met so many people there that work at NASA and that are so passionate, and that's great.
Hmm.
And I that's missed so much in, I think, some of the opportunity digitally in the content that could be made right now, that isn't being made. So
Mhm.
I'm interested, like, what have you seen from NASA or other space agencies that you think that they're doing well right now? I want to start with well, and then we'll see what they could be working on or what you think might work.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that they're doing well and that is critical, for any of their content to do well is to really, bring the content down to a level that normal people can understand. So, there's a lot of really amazing stuff that their engineers and their, aerospace experts are working on, but you need to get people excited about it. And not everyone has that level of technical expertise to really understand all the ins and outs. But being able to, bring that information to more of like a layman's level, I think is really critical. And using a variety of content, like using video content and using like interactive opportunities for people to get involved. I think that's, where they can really have an impact.
Mm,
And I think the NASA social program was a fantastic idea because
mm,
they're able to bring in people from all sorts of disciplines and backgrounds and get their content out to their networks.
right.
So they're able to inspire whole new audiences.
Mm.
So I think that's really brilliant on their part.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job with that program. I had the interesting opportunity to experience it in two different like eras almost. I went back in 2014 for the New Horizons mission that was at the Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland. So right before the spacecraft went by Pluto and got all those pictures, and all that
Mm-hmm.
awesome science. And it was not the beast that it is, NASA Social is today. It was
Mm-hmm.
great, but it was more like we had like a media pass, and we got to sit in and ask questions. We did get tours and stuff like that, but um, this had an aspect. You said it already, like the the people that we had there that were just so much fun and so many different backgrounds, and we even went out for drinks after the first day and got to know each other even better.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like I didn't expect that part of it, and it was so nice, like just to enjoy the experience with people. Like I was blown away.
Yeah, it was definitely a very well curated group of people. And the other thing that I thought was really awesome is they didn't allow people to bring guests. So every one of us there, we didn't know anyone. So it really gave people a lot of opportunities to make new connections.
Mhm. Yeah, in such an organic way. And then they basically just had a content machine in us, promoting everything that they need. I mean, that's a beautiful thing that they got going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man. Okay, so I wanted to touch on, so we touched on some tips for working at home, right? And kind of focusing on the things that you're going to do, make sure that you have goals, maybe something to look forward to. Is there anything from that that you think is different than, or that something else that's not in that advice that might be specific to COVID-19 with us being on lockdown, especially without like a
Hmm.
end date? Or is it really just more or less the same, just making sure that you focus on your, what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a little bit different. So, for example, before this all happened, I would work from home, I'd get my work done, and then after work, pretty much every day, I'd go to the yoga studio or go to the gym or meet up with friends. So, having something outside the house to do that I could look forward to after work was great. And then I'm pretty extroverted as well. So, being able to be around people after being by myself all day was also great. And so, I think that that's still really important to have things after work you're doing, even if there's not as many options as there were before. Like
Mm,
now I try to go for a walk every day after work or, you know, do a virtual happy hour with some friends.
mm,
So still having something to do that you kind of have planned earlier in the day. And then that also helps you really cut off the work. Like, hey, I need to stop working because I told my friend I'd talk to them at 6.
right.
Or, you know, I want to go for a walk before the sun goes down. So having that to keep you going throughout the day.
Yeah, no, those rewards are really like important, especially nowadays. Oh man, and you know, it's I thought of this earlier today, and I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this. But the way I see it, like I see this way of working from home and kind of not necessarily with people. It reminds me of, well, it doesn't remind me, but it makes me think of where things could go when people start working and living in space. You know, when we
Hmm.
start going to colonies or we start going to space stations, a 9 month trip to Mars, we're in the same spacecraft for 9 months. I think there's a lot from this lockdown and from working from home that you can really um, kind of guess where things are going to go. I mean, I think we all learned a little bit about stir crazy and how you
Hmm.
really need to I had to start something brand new. I had to pick up my trumpet again and start playing and practicing again. I'm terrible at it because I'm starting off from complete scratch again, but that was actually like exciting. Like that got me like, okay,
Hmm.
that's something to work on. It gave my mind something to go to. And I think that's going to be more and more what the future workspace is going to look like. And I'm interested what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think as more and more people are working from home right now, it really gives companies an opportunity to think once this is all over, hey, can we maybe have people working from home more often, giving people that flexibility, reducing their commute time, giving them more time at home where they can get more done and they have more time to pursue the things they want to do outside of work. That's what I'm really hoping comes out of this, is that there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of work location for people. So I
Yeah.
think that's really great. And then to your point about playing trumpet, I think that's also very important to be, finding ways to stimulate yourself even when you're not able to go out and do some of the things you used to do.
Mm.
Whether it's picking up a new hobby or picking up an old hobby again, finding some way to kind of keep your mind engaged.
I really hope that companies see it for a few reasons. I think the easiest one is that they'll see this as a way to not have to spend as much money on like a building, an actual piece of property. I can't tell you how many
Mm-hmm.
places on the highway we have out here in Boston, in the Boston area, where you're just like, okay, that holds 1,400 to like 5,000 people. Do they have to be in there anymore? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Travelocity. I think it's one of the travel online businesses, and it's like I don't think they need to be there. So maybe we'll see a lot more working from home. I know when I tried to work from home more often when I was out of school, there was always this kind of anxiety from my bosses, understandably, because I was a young kid, of like, is he going to get his work done? And I think this gave everyone the opportunity to be like, oh wow, they got a lot more done than I thought they were going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself ever, do you feel like you work more at home than you would in an office because you're now not um, in traffic and trying to get to work, or have you just gotten so good at structuring it that you're just plowing through work?
Yeah, I definitely get a lot more done working from home. I do go up to the office maybe every few months and
Mm,
work there for a week. And I find when I'm in the office, there's a lot of time that you spend, just chit-chatting. You're going into the break room to get a cup of coffee and you end up talking to someone for 10 minutes.
hmm.
Or, you get into those conversations. So that's part of it, is when I'm at home, I'm not getting those types of distractions. But also to your point, like by not commuting, that's, for most people, at least an hour of their day that they're not spending in their car or on, the bus or, getting to work somehow. So that time can then be spent either doing more work or doing something for you. And I find for me, it ends up being more work, but
Yeah.
it's still
You're in good company.
it's still better than having to commute. So I'm able to get more done and be able to do stuff outside too after work.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you. I find that I'm doing more work at my day job than I am before, but I am saving almost 3 hours of driving every day, so that kind of
Wow.
makes up for it. Yeah, yeah. The whole commute thing. I've kind of historically worked at long commute jobs just because those are the ones that are available.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that idea of just coming in for a week. It's give me a lot of ideas here. That's cool because then you're there long enough for people to kind of be like, oh, like Elena's in the office, like I can talk to her, or like I haven't had a chance to meet her, or oh, I wanted to catch up with her on something else. Like they know, okay, hey, she's in for a week. You want to, if you have anything that you got to do in person, this is the time.
Yeah, and I think even if you're not spending the whole time talking about work, just having that time in person with someone to kind of build that trust and build that relationship is really critical,
Mm,
especially if it's someone you've never met face to face before. It just completely changes the dynamic of how you work together.
totally. Yeah. There's so much that you pick up on from just being in the same room. Like even, we've got a video screen and like that's great and like I can see you, but it's a totally different thing when you're actually in person. Just like it is the same with rocket launches, as we found out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, awesome. I wanted to see if want to close out with, two things. First, I'd like to know what you would say for like most companies in today's world. What I think it's amazing to say, but there's still so many companies out there that don't utilize social media or digital marketing in a way that is helpful for them because they either think it's not as important as say something like a hard banner on the side of a road or maybe print or TV. What do you think from what do you think a lot of companies that are in that position are missing from the digital landscape?
Yeah, I think definitely an issue is a lot of people, they go into their digital marketing thinking, what can I get from my customer? How can I get a sale? How can I bring in their business? Instead of thinking of what can I do for my customer? How
Mm,
can I add value for my prospects? How can I serve their needs? And so, by doing that, by putting your audience first and, giving them valuable information and, sharing things with them that make their job easier or help them save money or, help them be more effective, that will make them want to do business with you. And so I think that's the big piece that a lot of people miss is that by being too overly salesy, you're not going to get any sales. You need to be first and foremost adding value to get value back.
I couldn't agree with you more. That was perfect. Yeah, it really is about it is the I mean, it's a old saying, but the customer's always right. There's definitely an aspect of that, but it's also sometimes the customers won't know what they're looking for, and you kind of have to dig and try and find that. That's I think a journey a lot of people don't go down. And
Mm-hmm.
with science communication, what I've found is it really is it's a multi-pronged thing. So there's like you mentioned in the beginning, it's a very technical thing. So you've got to bring it to people that may not have that knowledge just to get involved in the content that you're bringing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's so many different tools that are available to us between audio, video, and then in the rare case, some kind of kinesthetic, like hands-on. Like I brought the SpaceX Dragon capsule with us. So everyone kind of
Mm-hmm.
pass it around and know like what we're actually launching. What are some, and I may have already asked you this question, but from like a science communication perspective, what do you think? Well, let me ask because I already asked this question, but when I say a good science communicator, who do you think of? And I'm not plugging for you to say me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything current, but definitely like growing up, like Bill Nye the Science Guy. I think
Yep.
he
Yep.
he did a great job of like getting me and other kids like really excited about science and like making it really fun and engaging. And so, I mean, marketing to adults, it's similar. You just really need to figure out what's going to spark people's attention and what's going to get them interested, and really knowing what your audience is interested in is really important. Like figuring out how you can survey your audience as well, how you can engage with them and learn. So one thing a lot of companies don't do as effectively is they're out putting out content, but they're not engaging with their audience as much as they should. They're not responding to comments or, asking for feedback. And that could be a really valuable way to improve what you're putting out to better serve them.
And would you say that's if you think of it like as a give and take, almost like the balance of an equation, right? Where it's like left side has to equal the right side. I think, and I've got caught up with this before, where you put out stuff and you're just like, okay, yeah, I got a piece of content, but you don't take the next step to say, hey, what do you think? Or you don't even phrase it in a way that's, trying to prompt someone else. And then it just kind of misses the mark because there's no connection. It's just, well, I'm just trying to get you to watch my video, or I'm just trying to get you to buy this thing that we're selling. Yeah, I've learned that is such a major part of this. And it's not even, I think so many people come at it from a good place where they're like, well, I think I've seen this a lot with science communicators online. And I've gotten caught up in this, where you try so hard not to be taking from people, but you never give that opportunity for that exchange to happen. And then it kind of misses the mark. And then people think, oh, my stuff's not good. And it's not even that. It's just you never gave them a chance.
Yeah, and it's also really important to be, trying new things and testing. Like trying different types of content or different ways of distributing the content or different content delivery.
Right. Yeah. Like one of the things that we're working on here is it's been interesting. So this show started off as just an audio podcast, and then it morphed into a video one. And now, so it's lived in two places, and now we've been making micro content where we're just taking tiny pieces of the episode and putting them, theming it. It's like, okay, this is what that person's love of science was. That has now become its own thing of itself. It has its own life. Like some people just digest the podcast in those little bite-sized pieces. They don't even follow the show, but they're still getting it. There's so many different ways to think around how do you make a piece of content. My brain hasn't even gotten there yet, but we're just trying in ways that we can. And then my biggest thing so far has been doing it in a way that I can sustain long term.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I really liked your point about adapting your content to different people's consumption styles too. Like some people, they may commute or they may go on long walks and want to listen to the podcast. Other people might just have, some little bits of time here and there and just get the key takeaways. Or, they might want to visually watch. Everyone has their own preferences, and being able to adapt to that will help broaden your audience.
Well said. Elena, thank you for coming on. I have a few science questions to throw at you before you leave. But first of all, thank you for coming on. I've really enjoyed your advice.
Yeah, thanks again for the invite. It's been great catching up.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it's been 6 months. Okay, so I want to know if I had to ask you, okay, what role has science played in your life? What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Yeah, I would say I was never a big science person in high school, like chemistry, biology. That wasn't an area that I really, did super well in. But I always loved going to summer camp as a kid, and there'd always be one night where we'd lay out and sleep outside. And I could never sleep that night because I was always, my eyes were glued to the stars above. We were so far outside the city. There were so many stars up there. I'd count shooting stars. And so I just really loved space from then. I was just mesmerized by everything that was out there and wanted to learn more.
Interesting. Does the idea of an infinite universe, like the fact that it's so massive that we can't even digest it, does that excite you or does that scare you? And either is okay.
I think it's exciting and also very humbling. Like we are so small in the scope of, everything that exists, that it really puts a lot of things into perspective.
I have the same, that's exactly how I think of it too. And there's a lot of people who are actually like, nope, just close the door. I don't need to close the roof. I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I changed my mind a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have always been very multi-passionate. I wanted to be an artist for a while. I wanted to be a teacher for a while. My dad's a pilot, so I wanted to be a pilot for a while.
Oh,
So
that's
I think,
awesome. What did he fly?
you know, he was in the Navy, but he flies for FedEx.
Oh, damn, that's cool.
Yeah, and so I mean, even as an adult, I've changed my career path different times, and I probably will again at some point, but
Oh,
I
that's
think
great. You're
it's just,
following your passion and kind of what is next for you.
yeah, and I think that's really important in life to, work is necessary. You need to make a living. You need to, provide for yourself, provide for your family, but it should also be fun. You should be doing something that you're interested in and is, bringing you fulfillment each day.
Totally. I agree with that completely. I think I've definitely gotten caught up in work before, but not anymore because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay. Did you have a favorite class in high school?
Favorite class in high school. So my favorite class in high school was probably choir. So I
Nice.
really challenged myself academically. I did a ton of honors AP classes, and choir was my one chance to really express myself creatively.
Mm.
And it was almost, I don't want to say escape because that sounds negative, but it was my opportunity to have that release.
Yes, I was just thinking release. Yep. I dude, yeah, music for me was that as well. And I think for me it just balanced out the technical side. I would
Mm-hmm.
crunch numbers, thoughts, blah blah blah, and then was just able to, like you said, release with the music. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Yeah, and
still
almost
recording?
kind of clear your mind and
Yeah,
come back
totally,
to other things refreshed.
totally. Do you sing anymore?
I mean, not really. I sing in the shower and in the car and
Yeah, I mean those are great places.
yeah.
Awesome. Uh, Last question, and this is a very serious question. What is your favorite planet and why?
Oh man. Oh, favorite planet? I can't choose.
Okay, that's a good
I don't
answer.
know. Probably Jupiter. I think Jupiter is pretty cool.
Jupiter, yeah. I mean, the most massive planet, has the most
Yeah.
moons. So,
hmm
oh, dude, Jupiter's crazy. Have you seen the Juno satellites images that they've been pulling back?
No.
Oh man, you got to check out the Juno mission. It's the most high definition images that we've seen of Jupiter, and they get so close to the storms on the surface that it's unreal. It really is.
Wow, that sounds incredible. I'm going to go look as soon as I get off
Yeah,
this call with you.
NASA. It's all free. It's all available. Public domain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Juno, Juno.
Awesome.
Check that out. Elena, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex. It's been great chatting, and it was really so much fun meeting you at the NASA social, and hopefully we can meet again someday when this pandemic is over.
Yeah, someday in the future, when we're
Yeah.
allowed outside once again. Well, be well, stay safe, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Have a good evening, Alex.
Thanks, you too, Lynn.
Okay, bye.
Bye.